Made in Abyss Dawn of the Deep Soul is a masterpiece. It serves as a true test after this final act of Season 1, as now that the Abyss showed us just how much brutal it can get, we are finally ready to see the true potential of abyssal knowledge, incarnated by Bondrewd himself, who surpassed his human body to become something more than simple man. He became the literal lust for knowledge. There is just so much to uncover, theories to be made. We already talked about Dark Reg, but there is also the creation of White Wizards, this notion of ritual sacrifice, the Mania Stellim and their power of foresight, the blessing, the cartridges, and just much more. But today, none of that. Today I will simply gush about the use of color in the film and just how perfect it is. You see, throughout Season 1, the use of color is quite simple and mostly natural, with only rare occasions of color separation. But in the film, the use of color is proeminent by its lack of color, making each use of color important and also representing the tone of his arc. Since we know we are heading in grim territories, those of Bondrewd, guardian of the 5th layer. And yes, the 5th layer is a frozen wasteland, hence the lack of color, but then why is the water purple? We're still quite far away from Idolfront on his giant beam of light. The answer is obvious, it's the color associated with Bondrewd. His influence spreads out through the entirety of his domain, the 5th layer. Purple will be one of our main colors for the film. The next one we will come across is orange as we enter Idolfront. It's quite welcoming as it's quite a stark contrast with the cold and dead, desaturated purple of the Sea of Corpses. It's warm but it's not comfy. It feels off. Even though an enthusiastic Prushka is welcoming the group, this place, mainly made out of stone, is still cold and unwelcoming, as we know what's going on behind those walls. It just feels off, it feels wrong. Look at this man, in all his scientific glory. This entrance is amazing. Bondrewd with his hands, his followers, his apostle, the light rays enhancing this religious introduction of this faith. One of the abyss, one of the pursuit of knowledge. Sadly, there is not much reason color-wise to stay on this scene. Let's head out to the next color. Well, sort of. White, this neutral light in the room where the group stays. It's not a color if not an accumulation of color. White is associated with purity, and with Idolfront we can find some clinical feel to it. We are also introduced to green, the color that's always used for nighttime interiors. It's mostly here to be neutral, but I have a theory on the meaning the color green could have in Made in Abyss. But the explanation behind this is quite a lengthy one, and will be revealed in the next Abyss theory, Beholders of Warm Darkness. Back to our scenes. There are two that are interesting to look at, as they are really showing that Bondrewd is in control, as both scenes shows him bathing in his color. Since the group is out of option, only able to bargain. And then we have the little Otto. We find, again, this cold, emotionless, clinical white, but this time with a slight tint of purple, as it's Bondrewd's doing. We get our first clash, will it be from our characters or our colors? After that, we get out of Idolfront. It's now our little group's turn to act. The terrain is neutral, but the conclusion was already planned. But interestingly enough, they go in the water, which is purple. A little hint at the outcome of the fight, perhaps? But now we get into some really interesting analysis. When Bondrewd turned Prushka into a cartridge, we are bathing in an orange-golden tainted white light. We also have, again, those light rays. This is not a simple experiment, it's a sacred bonding ritual, where someone gives away himself, his value for another. Here it's sacrificing a life to bless the other. And while we are talking about Prushka, we can talk about her introduction. It's under a cold white light, with a very so slightly hint of purple. She is seen as a simple throwaway subject, doomed to be euthanized. But by a simple gesture on the use of light rays, she is put under the wing of Bondrewd as the flower of dawn, in what almost seems like a baptism. Let's now move forward to our next point of interest, when Rico's group gets back into Idlefront with a plan. When they put their plan in motion and Reg absorb Idlefront electricity, the place is set in darkness under a green neutral light. No one is at an advantage. And well, when Reg finally arrives in the blast, the room is now lit by an orange glow from the fire. But similar to the feeling upon entering Idlefront, this orange feels off. Yes, Reg is there, but he is burning with rage, a destructive fire that does not distinguish allies or enemies. It threatens to burn everything in its path. The color in this scene represents who has the upper hand. Here, Reg, our hero, our best hope to beat Bondrewd. The film represents who is in power with the help of color. It's orange most of the fight, but when Bondrewd uses Gangway, a seemingly impossible attack to dodge, this purple light invades the room until Dark Reg deflects it, turning the room back to orange. And then... we can see the orange glow leaving Reg's eyes, as we are now under a purple light. Since Dark Reg is gone, we doubt that Reg alone can beat Bondrewd, as shown by the last outcome. And in a way, the purple light also hint at the move that Bondrewd is about to make, bringing down Reg in his secret garden, his domain. The fight is now in his favor, as Reg is not powered up anymore. It's not Dark Reg Nightmare Throne that is playing, but the rumble of scientific triumph. Bondrewd has the upper hand until Reg reaches for the walls. The fight is now neutral for now. Both colors are clashing to take the lead, but let's note that as the blessings start, we are looking at the garden, which is purple, introducing the stakes and conclusion to come. And through the fight, multiple shots shows Bondrewd under a purple light. And when the second part of the blessing occurs, the garden is flooded by water, which dooms all the narrated on there to drown, in case you did not realize. And we have this iconic shot, Reg against overwhelming odds, breaking through and managing to be Bondrewd's equal. But yet, Bondrewd's color is still dominant. And yeah, that's because there is a bigger sphere of purple light, but also because he achieved his narrative form, accomplishing his goals. All of this helped to elevate the tension. Reg's incinerator shot, similar to Bondrewd's gangway, is quickly cast aside. This time it's Bondrewd's turn to deflect the attack. We then have Reg Last Resort, a surprise attack, sure to work, until Bondrewd dodges it, which led us to our last hope, Rico's incinerator shot, the winning blow. But note that even after it they're still bathing in purple, as Bondrewd still won. Even if he lost this body, he knows how to get another blessing. It's simply a minor setback. The Zoaholic is still up, and he will get to witness the group's adventure through Nanachi's eyes. We meet up with the group as they're about to depart to the last dive, under a purple light, under the blessing of Bondrud.
どうか君たちの旅路に溢れんばかりの呪いと祝福を